everybody. I hope that you have enjoyed this sermon series as much as I have. I really enjoy children. I think children are just so fascinating. I love making fun of them. I love wrestling with them, and I hope that you are so blessed to have some kids in your life. And maybe today at church there were some kids. Maybe you've got some family members with kids. I want to challenge you to spend as much time with kids as possible. The greatest people on the planet, according to the God of heaven and earth, according to Jesus Christ, the greatest people on the planet, they are kids. And unless we become like kids, we will never enter the kingdom of heaven. That's what Jesus says. We need to learn to think like they do. We need to learn to look at the world the way that they do. And in that way, we will start to experience the type of attributes that are so unique to children. And so we've looked so far at two key lessons. The first lesson regarding how children are different than adults is that they just don't worry. They just don't worry the same way that our adults do. They're not concerned about tomorrow specifically. We, generally adults, we are so fearful of tomorrow, and we're worried about, are we going to make ends meet? Are things going to work out for us? Are we going to get sick? And kids are like, they just live in the moment. They live in the moment, and they just enjoy every moment. And that brings us to the second point, the lesson for last week. And that is that kids have this tremendous ability to just have joy, just to be ecstatic about their birthday, about a new toy, about finding a bug. You know, we go on with life. We don't even get excited like they do when we get a new car or even a new house. I mean, we don't even laugh as often as they do. And so we need to reevaluate ourselves, because joy is just this fruit of the Spirit that's supposed to be prevalent in our lives. And God has given us everything on this planet for our enjoyment. And yet we go by sometimes day by day without any joy on our faces, not enjoying what God has given to us. And so if you've missed those lessons, please go check it out. Today, I'm going to do a lesson on the sincerity of kids. Kids are sincere. They are genuinely sincere. And another word that we could also use in relation to sincere is the word genuine. They are genuine and sincere. And this idea of sincerity or genuineness, I would like to say, involves three concepts, three ideas, three ways of being. It's lying, deceit, and hypocrisy. I would like to say that the opposite of sincerity, we could say, is lying, deceit, and hypocrisy. Let me just make 3 points today and say some things about it, and then conclude with the final few points. First of all, when we talk about kids, kids are bad liars. Kids are bad liars. Now remember, when I talk about kids, I'm primarily speaking about kids up to the age of 6. You know, the first phase of life. You got teenagers, they're good liars. So I'm not referring to teenagers. I'm referring to kids under the age of 6. Now, I wish I could say, to be honest, I wish I could say that kids don't lie at all. But they do. Okay? They do. And they do lie regularly. But we've got to be honest. Kids aren't born lying. Lying is something that they've learned. Something that they've picked up from adults. Usually kids lie because they don't want to get into trouble. That's the key reason. They don't want to face the consequences of something that they have done. And so they'll spin a lie. And to make it exciting, as you've picked up probably, I like to include some videos. Here are some kids that have been caught in the act. And they are lying about a few things. Here we go. Enjoy.
How did the marker get on your face? Who put it on your face?
Daddy.
Daddy put it on your face.
Yeah, Daddy.
And who put the toothpaste on your face?
Daddy.
Oh, Daddy did that too. I think it was you.
No, Daddy.
Noel, who drew on Mummy's mirror?
I don't know.
Was it you?
No.
Who was it?
A Batman. Batman.
Batman did it.
Did you eat hot chocolate? Can you tell me lies? What's on your face? What's on your face?
Sauce.
What sort of sauce?
Black sauce. How do I pocket craft?
What?
How do I pocket craft?
Michael, you broke my iPod.
John, what are you eating? You didn't eat anything.
Yeah.
John, can you explain to me why the sprinkles are empty? Did you eat those sprinkles?
No. I did not. Your sprinkles.
John, you have sprinkles on your face.
Oh no. No. I did not eat sprinkles. Did not.
So, there you have it. You've got kids lying, okay? So they do lie, but they are bad at it. I'm sure you can pick it up in those videos. They're just bad at lying. It's just so easy to catch them out. And the interesting thing for me is they keep on like sort of making, they don't acknowledge, okay, yes, I did lie. It's like sort of, no, it's the truth that I'm saying. Adults lie, but they've become good with it. We could almost say that the type of lying that these kids do, it's like innocent lying in a way. Adults, I would like to say, lie in at least two different ways than kids. Firstly, adults hide the evidence. Adults would go as far as not only saying this is the truth, but they're actually lying, but they would make sure to hide all the evidences that could possibly prove that they are lying. I mean, if you look at one of the kids in this video, he's eating sprinkles, right? The sprinkles are stuck in his face, okay? The sprinkles are lying all over the cupboard. The jar is half empty. Sprinkles are everywhere. The evidence for the crime is everywhere. And then he says, no, I didn't eat it, with the sprinkles stuck here on his lip. But all the evidence is pointing to him. And if you could get the fingerprints would be on the jar. You could look inside his tummy, you would see he actually ate that stuff. Although it's on his face, there's a lot of evidence that he's actually guilty. Now, what do adults do? Adults deepen and intensify the lie by hiding the evidence. Now, if it was an adult that wanted the sprinkles and decided to eat it, from beginning to end, knowing it's wrong, would have created a lie. An adult would have taken some of the sprinkles, but just enough out of the jar so that nobody would notice some of it is missing. Do you see the deceit coming in there? You would take just enough so nobody would notice. You would look around, you would eat some of it, you would wipe your face, you'd make sure that nobody picks up that you've had some of the sprinkles. You wouldn't drop one on the floor. You'd make very, very sure that nobody could find out it was you. Do you see the craftiness? And so adults hide the evidence. Secondly, adults plan to lie. They plan to lie. These kids, if you look at those videos, they were caught in the act of doing something that they shouldn't. And when they realized, oh my goodness, I made a mess now. There's just sprinkles everywhere. My mom is going to slaughter me. She's going to give me over to the sheriff. Then they quickly thought up a lie to sort of save themselves from a hiding. You see, it wasn't planned. The kid didn't sit there in the corner and think for himself, you know what, there's a jar of sprinkles. I'm going to go over there and I'm going to eat some of that stuff. And if I get caught, I'm just going to say a lie. No, not at all. That's not what those kids did. Guarantee you that's not what they did. They just saw the thing and they said, wow, that looks good. I'm going to eat some of that stuff now. And in the impulse, they just went and they ate. Lying was an afterthought. Most often adults lie because it was planned. They think beforehand, you know what, I'm going to take some of that money. I'm going to sort of make a plan here with telling my neighbor that's actually what happened. If this happens or that happens, I'll just say this or say that. You've heard that before, haven't you? Well, you know what? If they ask, just say this happened. Just say. Those words, just say, is an invitation to a lie. It's premeditated and it's planned. Okay. The older a kid becomes, the more sinister his lying becomes, because the more he has had experience and heard the schemes of Satan. In other words, kids are born pure, I believe. Lying and deception is not on their radar when they are born, but as they grow older, Satan starts his schemes, and the world we live in parades Satan's lies everywhere. And if you don't block the habit of lying, somewhere it will become entrenched in your character. I'm going to repeat that again. If you don't block the habit of lying in your character, okay, it will become entrenched in your character. Let me remind you of Titus 1 and verse 2. The text says, God never lies. Equally, let me tell you about John 8:44. You know the text well. Satan is the father of lies, and his language is lie. So where you find lies, there you find Satan. I'm going to repeat that. Where you find lies, there you find Satan. You can never say, God was with me while I lied. No, Satan was with you. And where you find truth, there you find God. So whenever you speak the truth, contrary to what you want to do, because you know you're going to get into trouble, know this, God is with you. Let me ask you the question today. Are you a liar? Do you hide evidence? Now, I've got to be honest, I'll come out. I sometimes do, and I have lied. Use a very simple example to explain the point with regards to hiding evidence. I would go to the shop and I would buy a chocolate. Now, I'm thinking in the shop, my kids are in the car, my wife's in the car. I'm going to, I can quickly buy a chocolate. I can't buy a chocolate for everybody because I don't want the kids with their teeth and stuff, you know. So I'm going to have to buy the chocolate. I'm going to have to buy the right size chocolate so that I can finish eating it before I get to the car, so that they would even never know I had a chocolate. And so I'd throw away the paper. Sometimes I'd eat a chocolate and I'd leave the paper in the car, and then quickly make sure that I throw it away before the next morning, so that the kids can't see I ate a chocolate. You see, that's now silly hiding of evidence, but we know it gets more serious than that. You might be hiding your phone from your partner. What are you hiding on that phone? Hiding the evidence is just as good as lying. That's what adults do. Secondly, do you plan your lies? Do you plan your lies? This most incredible thing happened. There's this couple I married a few years ago, and I only found out afterwards that she was the girl was actually in a relationship with another person, and she then cheated on that person with the guy that I did their wedding for. Now this guy is basically married to an adulterous woman, and in hindsight, he has now realized, oh my goodness, if I marry an adulterous woman, the chances that she will be cheating on me is just as high. I mean, you meet her on a cheat, you're probably going to greet her on a cheat as well, right? Okay? And what was interesting is that while these two were married, the girl, the lady, the adulterous lady, she had then started a relationship over social media and over WhatsApp with another man. And then it came out. Then this guy realized, man, what he's doing is wrong. He's busy communicating with a woman that is not his wife. And so he went to the husband and told the husband, look, man, I need to confess. I've been having these chats with your wife. And so the husband confronts the wife. You know what this woman had done? She had, on her WhatsApp, she had deleted all the messages that implicates her. And she'd only left the messages on her WhatsApp that implicates the other guy. So it's the other guy that looks guilty. It's the other guy that looks like he's trying to seduce her. And so if you read her WhatsApp messages, all the WhatsApp messages seem to indicate that she is innocent. But the other guy that she was busy cheating with or conversing with, he'd delete all of his messages, and so he couldn't prove it. But it was a known fact that she was actually the one pursuing him. Now, what do we see in the story? I hope you got that. What we see in the story is that here's this lady. She premeditated and pre-planned how she would be lying if this affair ever came out. Months before it actually came out. That is hardcore and ungodly. Let me ask the question, do you plan your lies? So that's the first thing I'd just like to say. Kids are bad liars. Secondly, kids don't have guile. They don't have guile. Now, before I move into speaking of children and guile, let me first define guile and show some scriptures. It comes from the Greek word dolos. This word guile comes from the Greek word dolos, which means crafty, deceit. And this is also where we get the word decoy from. It's a decoy, right, to get you off finding the truth. So deceit, I would like to say, is upgraded lying. Upgraded lying. And that falls in line with this lady that I just spoke about. That's more deceit and guile. Deceit happens when you deliberately plan in crafty ways to deceive someone. It happens when you put out evidence to support your lie. And very often the evidence is more than just your words. It is also your character. Now, this word is only used a few times in the New Testament. Let me read you some verses. 1 Peter 2 and verse 1 says, "Rid yourselves of all malice and all guile, hypocrisy, envy, and slander of every kind." That is 1 Peter 2 verse 1. And so Peter says, get rid of guile. But he continues on in verse 2, very ironic to the series that we're talking about in the lesson for today. Like newborn babies, crave pure spiritual milk so that by it you may grow up in your salvation. So he says, don't do this, become like a baby. A saved person should not allow guile near him. It is something that adult sinners do and not saved babes. And so Peter says we need to put guile aside. In the same chapter of the same book, Peter quotes Psalm 118 verse 22, where he says about Jesus that no guile was found in his mouth. So guile was nowhere close to Jesus. The only thing you would ever get from Jesus is the pure truth. In the same book, but the next chapter, chapter 3 verse 10, Peter quotes Psalm 34 when he says, "Whoever would love life and see good days must keep his tongue from evil and his lips from guile." You want to live a good life? Keep your lips from guile. The text reiterates the sentiment of Psalm 32 verse 3 that claims that people with no guile in their spirit are blessed. If you are pure and truth-bound, you are blessed. Have you ever met such a person? Have you ever met a person, you meet this person and you just know, this guy is genuine and sincere. You don't find fakeness there. You can see it a mile away, right? And Jesus demonstrated this to us. In John chapter 1 verse 47, the text says, when Jesus saw Nathanael approaching, he said of him, "Here is a true Israelite, in whom there is nothing false." Here is a true Israelite. There's nothing false in him. This is the real deal. That's what I wish each one of us can be. You've seen this before, haven't you? You've met a person like that. You know what a genuine and sincere person looks like. Do you look like that? So guile is upgraded lying. It is deceit. Your goal is to deceive someone. A kid might lie to avoid getting a hiding, but they won't lie to deceive somebody else maliciously. They don't have that capacity. It takes intelligence to lie adequately. Sometimes we slip out half-truths in the moment. It happens. But some people are filled with guile and deceit. It has become part of their character. So what do we do about guile? First of all, I'd like to say, stay away from deceitful people. Stay away from people who have guile in them. If you know they are deceivers, stay away from them because they will deceive you. Proverbs 25:18 says, like a club or a sword or a sharp arrow is the man who gives false testimony against his neighbor. Psalm 55:21, his speech is smooth as butter, yet war is in his heart. His words are more soothing than oil, yet they are drawn swords. You cannot trust a deceitful person because you never know the motives of their hearts. So rather stay away from them. And if you can't stay away from them, let's say it's a family member, make it clear that you are aware of their deceit. And this will help them hopefully steer a different path leading to truth. That's firstly. The second point I'd like to say this is ask God to search your own heart. Most guile-driven people, they don't even know that they're deceitful. It's normal to them. They've become so used to it. And everybody else too. Everybody else has become used to it. To some people it has become their second nature. And that is why David wrote, "Search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offensive way in me and lead me in the everlasting." That is Psalm 139 verse 23 to 24. Deceitful people never pray this kind of prayer because it takes an honest person to open their heart to pray these words. I challenge you to do this week. Do it this week. Ask God, Lord, if there's any deceit in me, please reveal it and remove it. So here's the third point for us for today. Let me just reiterate what I've said so far. First of all, kids are bad liars. Secondly, kids don't have guile. And thirdly, kids don't fake it. Kids don't fake it. One of the most interesting things about kids for me is that they wear their hearts on their sleeves. When they get hurt, they cry. They make it known that they are hurt. When they are happy, they can't hide their excitement. They always portray exactly how they feel. Their feelings and their behaviors are one. Their thoughts and their demonstration of their thoughts are always one. They don't hide their feelings or their thoughts or their opinions. They don't put up a mask. They don't fake it. What you see is what you get. Adults, on the other hand, have become masters at hiding our true thoughts and our true feelings. We know how to hide it. We know how to put on a smile and say, "Hi, how are you? I hate you. My day is horrible." You can put up the face, but you know in your heart it's not real. We don't behave always with our thoughts aligned with our faces. We're often fake and we wear masks. In the adult world, you don't always get what you see. Now remember 1 Peter 2 verse 1. Remember the text. It said, "Rid yourself of all malice and all guile or deceit." And then he says, "Hypocrisy, envy, and slander of every kind." Now we have spoken about guile, but Peter uses another word just after guile, which is very closely associated with guile, and it is hypocrisy, which in Greek is the word hypokrites, which means a stage player. In other words, an actor. Rid yourselves of acting, Peter is saying. That is when you present something that you are not. Now, children cannot do this. They've not developed this level of deception. Now we know that the expert stage player is Satan. 2 Corinthians 11:14 says that Satan himself masquerades as an angel of light. When you look at him, you will think that he's an angel of light. Meanwhile, he is the king of darkness and the prince of demons. This is the exact behavior that Jesus rebuked the Pharisees for in Matthew 23. He says, you clean the outside of the cup and dish, but inside you are full of greed and self-indulgence. He says you are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside you are full of dead man's bones and everything unclean. On the outside you appear to people as righteous, but on the inside you are full of hypocrisy and wickedness. You see, stage playing does not come from God. God wants us to be real. He wants us to be open about our failings, open about our sins. Rather be open about your sins and your failure and let people look at you funny than hide and profess to be something that you are not. Be open about it all, because God despises and He hates lies and He hates fake. The question on the table is this: why do kids not fake? Why don't they fake? I'd like to propose 2 reasons. Number 1, because they don't care what people think. It's just not part of their makeup at this stage of life. They don't care. One of the key reasons why we act, why we put on a mask, why we fake it, is because we don't want others to know what is really going on inside of us. A kid doesn't even think about other people's thoughts of them. By the way, the most pleasant people in the world are those who are an open book, because you always know who you are dealing with. You know what to expect. There's a second reason why kids don't fake, is because they've got nothing to hide. Sometimes we put up a mask because we know the face behind the mask is offensive. There are some things in our character that we know people would not approve of, and God does neither. Well, in that case, there needs to be a cleaning out of the closet. John chapter 3 verse 20 says, "Everyone who does evil hates the light, and will not come into the light for fear that their deeds will be exposed." And so this often happens in church. That's why some of the most fake-driven people and hypocrites are unfortunately in the church. Because people have darkness in them, but they know they're coming into the presence of light, and so they would fake it. People will rather fake being a Christian than just come into the light with their sin and their evil. Let me conclude. Let me remind you of Matthew 11 verse 25. "I praise you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth, because you have hidden these things from the wise and learned and revealed them to little children." Children understand God things better than we do. True wisdom lies in the character of children. And James chapter 3 and verse 17 says, "But the wisdom that comes from heaven is first of all pure, then peace-loving, considerate, submissive, full of mercy and good fruit, impartial and sincere." And there's the beautiful word that this whole lesson is about: sincere. The wisdom that comes from heaven is sincere, and it is pure. Now this last word, sincere, in Greek is anupokritos. Now if you compare that to the word hypocrite, you will see where this is going. Anupokritos, the word sincere, means without hypocrisy, without fakeness, without lies, without a mask, without disguise, without guile, without deceit. That is wisdom. Wisdom is living your life without these things. Now let's bring it home. Let's summarize everything said so far. Don't hide the evidence of your mistake. Own it. Own it. Don't be fake about it. Secondly, all lies are sinful, but a planned lie is sinister. Don't plan lies. Don't lie ever, but specifically don't plan lies. Number 3, distance yourself from deceitful people, because they will deceive you. Fourthly, distance yourself from your own deceit before God distances Himself from you. And lastly, don't fake it till you make it. Make it before you fake it. I'll repeat that. Don't fake it till you make it. Make it before you fake it. Love you guys. Have a fantastic week. Bye-bye.